Guys, forget Messi versus Ronaldo for a minute. Today, we're settling a Premier League debate that still divides fans. Prime Thierry Henry versus prime Didier Drogba. Was it Henry's balletic brilliance, an unmatched goal tally, or Drogba's terrifying big game impact and unplayable physicality that defines an era? This one isn't just about stats alone. It's about who delivered when it truly mattered. We are breaking down their true strengths and weaknesses to finally settle who was the superior force. You won't want to miss the shocking conclusion to this one, guys. Now, joining me, as always, is my frenemy, an ardent Chelsea fan. Some say the first word out of his mouth was Doritos, and that snacks in general fear him more than they fear Big Lizzo. But we all know him as Marky Mark. Minge,
What are you saying? Love that intro.
are you ready for this one, my man?
Well, you basically said it's not all about the stats and who's had the bigger impact. We already know who the answer is. It's Didier Drogba.
So I literally was going to ask you, first question, before we jump in and take a deeper look.
Yeah.
Which name for you stands above the other right now?
I'm a Chelsea fan, so Didier Drogba. When you hear that name, Drogba, it just sends shivers down the spine. Didier Drogba. TT Henry. Hi, I'm TT Henry. No, but there's no fear. There's no fear. I ain't Jamie Carragher, so yeah. And how about you?
You know what? You saying shivers down the spine. I mean, yeah, he sent shivers down many a centre-back's spine.
Yes.
Many an Arsenal backline spine. And you know what? He did terrorise us quite a bit during his pomp. But what I want to do, for me personally, you know, I'm Arsenal, but even taking my Arsenal hat off, it's very difficult for me to look past Henry. But that's the whole point of today's debate, right? We're both going to challenge each other and test each other's limits here. Because Henry, for me, is the greatest the Premier League's ever seen. Drogba, for you, is the biggest force, the biggest beast that you've ever seen. So let me kick this one off by sharing some stats with you, my man.
Okay. All right. Henry's stats already, I know. They're just unreal.
Right. I've got some stats up on the screen. Weirdly enough, Mark, this one is strange because they actually, even though they overlapped a bit and spent different amounts of time in the Premier League, if you combine it, they were there pretty much for 8 seasons each.
Yeah.
And even if you look at the Premier League appearances, you've got 258 versus 254. So this is an actual direct fair comparison, right?
Fair.
So firstly, I've broken this down into Premier League because I think we can both agree both these guys' primes were when they're in the Premier League. Fair?
Yeah, fair.
Cool. Okay. So we've got Henry at Arsenal, 97 to 2007, obviously came back a slight loan spell as well. And Drogba, 2004 to 2012, right? So they overlapped in the league for about 3 seasons. In that time, 250 appearances each. What stands out to you here? Because I've got the goals and assists, and we know that from a numbers point, Henry's gonna be a little bit ahead. I got to say, I'm actually surprised by Drogba's assist numbers.
Yep.
It's actually higher than I thought it was.
Yeah. He wasn't known or renowned for being an assister. So, yeah. But if you have a look at the Premier League goals, like 175 for Thierry Henry and 104 only, I would say only for Didier. I mean, when you're going off stats in the Premier League, like Thierry Henry was just an absolute beast, a rapid, super strong goal scoring machine. The main problem with Thierry Henry for me is that after the invincible season, the quality of the first 11 for Arsenal's team, the squad, it just went downhill. We've touched on it before. You know, he wanted to, I think Barcelona's influence on world football really hit Arsene Wenger, and he was like, all right, you know what, I'm going to scrap the winning formula, as you say, of having all these beasts in the Premier League and then replace them with all these tiki-taka sort of diminutive type of players. Whilst that does work now in 2025 in the Premier League, at that time, I think it was 2004 when the shift happened, I think that it just didn't work. And I think it didn't work because it was poor purchases from Arsenal. And that kind of affected Thierry Henry. His numbers should have been a lot higher if he was in a team of the sort of ilk and quality of the Invincible squad. What do you think about that?
Yeah, bro, we've spoken about this before and you're absolutely right. Wenger had the blueprint. He had the blueprint. And instead of continuing that blueprint, he was so stubborn in his vision and his mindset. And this is just before, Pep's Barca coming through. So he's actually got this blueprint, this idea in his head. And he's thinking, no, I'm actually going to do this in the Premier League. The problem you've got is the physicality in the Premier League. Pep's come over to the Premier League and even he's had to adapt. And he has adapted, but he did it straight away after season 1. They finished 4th and he adapted and he built a back line full of absolute monsters because the Premier League is physical. So yeah, this is actually what happened. And you're right. I think Henry's numbers would be even better. They're still super impressive, but they'd be even better because those last 2-3 seasons, had Wenger continued with that blueprint, I definitely agree with you. What happened, funnily enough, we win the season, we go unbeaten, the Invincible season in 2004, and then what happens is Jose comes to the league in 2005.
Yes. 4.
He sees Wenger abandoning that blueprint. He just goes, thanks very much, picks it up and I'll create my own team of beasts and I'll show you how it's done. And he wins back-to-back Premier League titles and Drogba is a big part of that. So I agree with you. I think Henry's stats could be even better. Let me throw one thing at you though. Could Drogba's goals, would they be even better if he was managed in a system by Wenger as opposed to Jose, where everyone had their job and don't get me wrong, tactically astute, but he was a big advocate of winning games 1-0, shutting up shop when you're ahead, rather than that kind of flamboyant style that Wenger played. Could Drogba, could he have scored more goals, do you think, if he wasn't playing in that Jose Mourinho system?
That is a super question, and I don't even really think about that. 100%, you're exactly right. 2004 to 2005, Jose Mourinho's way of playing was score a goal, look up shop. You're lucky to get another goal. And that is the way that he played, and that's how he won. Most of his goals during those periods are 1-0. You put Didier Drogba in the Invincible squad, in the Invincibles team, instead of Thierry Henry. No doubt, Didier Drogba's numbers will be inflated massively. Whether it will get to the point of Henry's numbers and Henry's stats, that's a little bit hard to answer because Thierry Henry, especially after the Invincible season, he was like the only guy in Arsenal. He carried that team. It was Thierry Henry and a bunch of little kids. That sounds wrong, but you know what I'm saying. But if you put Didier in that, how many did he get in his first season? We don't have that, right? Let us know in the comments down below what Didier's numbers were. But let's say they were like 15. If he played for Arsenal in that Invincible squad, Drogba's numbers would be hitting 25 to 30. What do you think? Is that outrageous what I've just said? No.
I definitely think he could have hit 2025 for sure. 30, maybe not. The only reason I say that is because Henry and Drogba were slightly different players. Henry would make things happen. Sometimes he'd drop a little bit deeper and he'd get involved in play. I tell you what Drogba would have had behind him. He would have had Pires from the left. He would have had Lundberg and he would have had Dennis Bergkamp providing him. And that, with a box-to-box like Vieira, I think Drogba was hitting minimum 20 goals a season every season at Arsenal, if he was at Arsenal in that setup where Wenger wanted to go out and win games 2-3.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. But, bro, you're talking about Ljungberg and Pires. Bro, we had Makelele. We had Lampard. We had Ian Robben. We had Damien, Satan's son, Duffy. Bro, these guys were on fire. He was still getting the service. He still had a quality first 11 around him.
He did.
So I don't think you can top that point of Ljungberg and Pires. I mean, yeah, they're legends at Arsenal, but it's not like Didier's like team around him were like a bunch of tossers. They weren't. They were monsters as well, and they were rapid and they were strong, as you know. So I'm not too sure about that. But if we have a look, if you're talking about Premier League stats, okay, there's that Didier can't even compete with Thierry, right? Goals, 175. Their appearances are the same. So for 175 for Thierry, 104 for Didier. The assists, 70 for Thierry, 55 for Didier. Goal contributions in total, 159 for Didier, 249 for Thierry. It looks like a dumb conversation, to be fair. FIFA Players of the Year, PFA Players of the Year, he's won it, twice? Didier, 0. FWA Football of the Year, he's won it 3 times. Thierry, Didier, 0. Golden Boots, how many has he got? Didier has 2. Henry has 4.
Thierry's got 4.
It's not, when you look at these stats, it doesn't justify the argument. Because Didier Drogba, bro, would absolutely just smash over to Thierry Henry. Nah, come on, man. Thierry Henry, come on, bro.
Well, you left out one stat there where Drogba does win, right?
Okay.
And we're going to go into we're going to go into some more stats in a second. But Premier League titles. Now they were there at different times, but during their time there, 8 seasons, give or take. In those seasons, Thierry wins the Premier League twice, and he wins a couple of FA Cups, right? Drogba wins 4 Premier League titles. I think he wins more FA Cups, and obviously we're going to go on to the European exploits as well. So it's interesting, and this is where the debate gets a little bit closer. So let me share something else with you, Mark. What I've gone and done is I've added and included the Champions League stats because, yes, both their prime was in the Premier League, but they're also playing in the Champions League, right, at the same time. And I know Henry goes on to Barca and he gets his Champions League medal, but that wasn't in his prime, as we've both agreed. We've agreed that his prime was when he was at Arsenal Football Club, and Drogba's prime was at Chelsea. Now, looking at these stats, again, fairly similar. I think there's 15 different, there's 15 more appearances for Drogba in the Champions League. The goals are basically very, very similar. But it's the goals that makes the difference here. From Henry's goals of 35 doesn't lead to any Champions League titles. It leads to 1 final appearance. Drogba's goals not only leads to 2 final appearances, he actually wins you the Champions League. So this is where actually now we're getting a little bit closer, even from a statistic point of view. You know, Henry had his chances to win European or get European glory, right, in the Champions League with Arsenal. He had his chances. He played in great teams, 2004, all the way through, really, from 2002 all the way through. He played in some really, really good sides. And even in 2006, he's in the final. Doesn't impact the final. Drogba, on the other hand, when he gets his chances, not only do Chelsea win, he's the main reason that they win.
Facts.
So this is now tweaking the argument slightly. And, well, firstly, I'll stop there. What are your thoughts on what I've just said there?
Well, look, it kind of goes back to what I initially mentioned before, right? You're put the team of Arsenal was pretty much dead apart from that invincible season, right? It was him carrying the team.
That's a bit harsh.
Well, after the invincible season, it kind of was, though. You finished 4th, I think, that season. And then you were known as the top 4, as the position number 4 guys. But what I'm saying, I still think stands. If you have a look at the managers, like Mourinho was a monster. He was a winner. He set his team up to win. Arsene Wenger set his team up to like dance around like a bunch of fairies. They're Barcelona wannabes, right? And if you're coming back to these stats, if you just look at the stats that you've put on the screen here, Didier Drogba has still had about 20 more or 15 more appearances, and the goals are still the same, but you hit the nail on the head. All of the goals, all the important goals that won titles, that won Champions Leagues, that won FA Cups, League Cups, was pretty much from Didier Drogba scoring in the last minute or in the finals. Here's a stat for you. In 10 finals, Didier Drogba has scored in 9 of them. And in the games where he has scored, 8 of those goals he scored, they've gone on to win the cups. So it goes back to what you're saying. He is clearly a bigger game player than Henry. Now you might say, "Oh my God, yeah," but what about the 2002 World Cup when Thierry Henry scored that amazing solo goal, and that was in a big competition? And yeah, it was, but that was a one-off. I mean, how many other times, like off the top of your head, how many more times in finals has Thierry grabbed the team by the neck and forced them to score and forced them to win the game? Can you think of any?
Well, I'll go one further. He's never scored in a final. He's never actually scored in a final. France won the World Cup in '98. They won it and then they won the Euros in 2000.
That's right.
Henry scored big goals. You know, he has scored big goals, but he's never actually scored in a final. And this is where the debate does come a bit closer, right? Because
the impact.
that is an insane stat. Didier Drogba is scored in 9 out of 10 finals and they've gone on to win 8. It's not like he's scoring the 4th or 5th goal. He's actually probably scoring the winners in these, right? But that's the point. If Didier Drogba plays, firstly, in a final, he's gonna score, and more than likely, 80% of the time, you're also going to win. That is actually monstrous. So, yeah, look, when you watch the Premier League game to game, he was a handful, right? And he had a job to do under Jose Mourinho. And it goes back to the point when I said, like, okay, you've got Bergkamp, feeding you in, Pires, Lundberg, but with the style of Wenger versus Jose Mourinho, you still had Iron Robben, Damien Duff, you had Lampard, you had great players, but they had to play in Jose's system, which, again, meant that Didier had a job to do. Thierry Henry, quite a famous quote from Wenger, if we were losing or if we were drawing and Henry hadn't scored, he would just go, oh, well, Henry hasn't got his goal yet. Because Henry had free license to pretty much do what he wanted. He'd drift out onto the left. He'll come back into midfield and run through your whole team. He'll score from the edge of our box, driving through the whole of Spurs 11. He's done it time and time again because Henry had free reign. Drogba did not have free reign. He had a job to do, and boy, did he do it well. But his job was to score the biggest of big goals, and he did it with Jose, and he did it without Jose, because a lot of those finals were actually after Jose left, including the 2012 Champions League final. Absolutely insane. I do think it makes the conversation actually a little bit closer when you give it that context. I've got a question for you because I think we're both agreed on who you'd rather have in a cup final, right? You'd rather have Drogba in a cup final than Henry. Henry scored 0 in the finals he's played. Drogba's scored in every single final bar one that he's played in, right? So I think that's a no-brainer. But here's another question for you. We're going back to player versus player. Who did defenders fear more? Did they fear Thierry more? Or did they fear Didier more, in your opinion?
I think that when defenders went up against Didier, they were like, right, we're in for a fight, right? Put on the bench press, right? Got to match up to this guy. But Thierry Henry, if you listen to like a lot of the former players, the former pundits that used to be players, they would all say Thierry Henry, he was unbelievably scary. He still gives me nightmares. I mean, it's not surprising that Jamie Carragher still has like nightmares about Thierry Henry because that just shows, he's from Liverpool. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to, but everyone was scared about Thierry Henry. And it was more specifically, he was super strong, but it was more specifically his speed. If he got past you or level with you or even behind you, it tore shivers down Premier League defenders' spine because they were like, I'm never going to catch this. And there's so many clips online about Thierry Henry doing this on multiple occasions, dozens of occasions, where you see the defender and he's right next to Thierry and he's got the ball and you can see that they're just thinking, I'm never going to catch this guy. And even if one or two do, Thierry has those skills, bruv, just to zip the ball left, zip the ball right and accelerate and speed past the defenders. And then his finishing was just Thierry Henry, low, precise, clinical. And that's what it was. I think that Didier is, in terms of goals, like the variety of goals that Didier scored, I think he's got an upper hand on Thierry because some of Didier's goals were outrageous. Outside the box, inside the box. He used to bully and push people, where Thierry used to like zip past them. What do you think about what I just said?
I agreed with the first part. I think that's the thing with Henry, right? He could pretty much do everything. He could front you up. He could take you on, even from a standing start. He'd get in behind you. He'd drift out from the left. He'd go past 4 or 5 players. He did that countless times. I got to disagree with the variety of goals. Here's the thing, right? Drogba, again, didn't have the free reign, but you've got Henry picking up the ball from the left. You've got picking him up in the centre circle, scoring outrageous amount of goals. Free kicks, he scored.
So did Didier.
He scored outside the box, pelters. He scored that goal against Old Trafford. I'd say Henry's got the more iconic goals, for sure, in my opinion. And we can debate this, but for me, Henry scored the craziest different amount of goals because he just had that flair, that aura, that va-va-voom. He was just unplayable at his best. And
He was.
honestly, if it wasn't for him, we don't go with the ball, because there was a moment, we got kicked out of the Champions League, and then that same week, I think they lost in the FA Cup the weekend before, and we're 2-1 down against Liverpool, and he's like, you know what, I can't let this continue. I can't let this happen. He takes it on, obviously leaves Carragher on his backside, but he also leaves a couple of others on their backside. Henry, for me, could score every type of goal. He could even score in the air as well. For me, I think Thierry's nuts, and JT sums it up for me. John Terry even said, and there's quite a few clips of this, where he's like, the only defender he feared and really feared was Thierry. And he's training every day with Drogba. He's not fronting up with Drogba in a game on match day, but Thierry was the one that kept him up. Rio mentions Thierry. All the best defenders that you and I have in terms of our Premier League best centre-backs all regurgitate the same name. It's Thierry. But I tell you what, that's not taking anything away from Didier. He was a beast. He was a handful. And if he's on you and if he's on it, there'd be times where I just felt like Didier was just looking to throw himself to the ground and just getting a bit of a grump and whatever else. But when Didier was on it, he was unstoppable, as well as Thierry. They were just different type of players. And when he was unstoppable, he was equally as effective. He was just a monster. So yeah, fair play. I think, look, defenders feared both, right? I got another question for you, and this is an interesting
Before
one.
you get into it, let me ask you this, do you think that Thierry Henry would have the same number of Premier League goals if he played for Chelsea instead of Didier? And Didier played for Arsenal. Who do you think would have more goals? Don't forget, bear in mind, that Chelsea, especially under Mourinho, were 1-0 merchants.
It's very close to the question I was going to ask you, actually. Great minds and all that. I think, for me, it depends when Henry joins Chelsea, because he joined Arsenal in 99. If he joins Chelsea in 99, Chelsea weren't the same team as they were in 2003, 2004.
2004.
If he joins at the same time and Jose's there, look, Henry gets his goals, but here's the thing, he's got to play in a system. Henry would have as many goals, and I think he would get frustrated. There's that famous story, right, when he played at Barca, and Pep is like, right, here's a system, you're playing out on the left, and Henry wasn't getting the ball, right? So Henry was like, you know what, sod this, I want to go and play with Messi. And he goes over to Messi's side and he drifts. Like he had the leeway to do at Arsenal, right? Wenger would never pull him up on this. Henry could go anywhere on the pitch. And he foolishly thought he could do the same thing under Pep. He actually goes and plays on Messi's side. He ends up getting his goal and he's loving it. And he's looking over at the bench. See, look at me. I'm still the Don Daddy. I'm Henry. They go in at half-time. He's got his goal. They come out at half-time. Henry's been hooked off.
And unbelievable.
Pep's like, listen, I told you, you got to stay on the left. So would he have fitted in Jose's system? Yes, of course he would have fitted into Jose's system. Would he have been as effective and been the Thierry that we saw at Arsenal? No, hell no. I actually don't think he would have been. And like we said earlier, would Drogba have got more goals at Arsenal? When Wenger was pushing us forward all the time, almost that kind of, rather than shutting up shop, we're going to score more and more goals. Yeah, of course, Drogba would have picked up more goals. I think both would have prospered or got more goals had they played in that kind of free-flowing Arsenal team.
Yeah, that's what.
But my question spins off on that. If we swapped them again, would your teams have won more or less? So, do Chelsea, firstly, I've got two questions here. Do Chelsea win more Premier Leagues with Thierry Henry? And vice versa, do Arsenal win more Premier League titles with Didier Drogba? That's the first part.
I think that Thierry Henry would definitely have won more titles with Chelsea going from the 2024 onwards. I do believe that. 2004 onwards. If you put Didier in what, the Invincibles team? Is that what you're asking? Or when?
Yeah, see, the time difference is different. So you got to stick Didier in from when Henry was there. So 99 up to 2007. And you stick Henry in from 2004 to 2012 in Chelsea.
It's just so hard.
So in 99... Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I think that's a really, really tough question. I don't know, you know.
I know that in the Premier League, if Thierry was there instead of, from 2004, instead of Didier, I think they both would have won the same amount of titles. You can't say, oh, you know what, if Thierry was there, then Chelsea would have won more. I'm not too sure. Even though I do think an important context of that is the Chelsea team was a lot more mature, a lot more complete, a lot more built than Arsenal's after, was it 2003, 2004, whenever you won it. It was just a more balanced team, more complete team, more mature, experienced team. So it's hard to compare, but I do think that Thierry would have won more titles. Yes. And I think that he probably would have. I don't know if he'd won the same, if he got the same amount of goals though, especially if he's going to be listed.
Well, no.
Jose. Yeah, exactly. You've already stated that. So I think, yeah, it's so difficult. I think that the teams and the managers, that the freedom that Arsene Wenger gave him, he wouldn't have got that under Chelsea. But Chelsea's team was a lot more experienced, a lot more, you know, monstrous, as you like to say. So it's a tough one, but I don't think he would have got the same amount of goals. What do you think?
It's a thing. Drogba in that Arsenal team, 99 to 2007, a big part of that, 99 to 2004, even 2005, Vieira left after 2005, they were also a team of monsters, but they had pace, they had energy. I think it would have suited Drogba. He would have scored more goals. Yes. I think both. So Chelsea messed up and Arsenal messed up, and they both messed up against Man United. I'll go first, right? So United win 3 titles in a row from 99, 2000, 2001. And they also win that 2003 one where Arsenal should have actually gone 3 in a row. There was no reason. We had a massive lead. We win it in 2002. We had a massive lead in 2003, blew it, and then we went invincible. Now, in those 3 years in a row, 99 Champions League, treble-winning United team, okay, they win it. Straight off the back of that, Henry's stats were great. We were still a very good team, but I'm wondering if Didier can impact the team to potentially win one of those 3. I'm not sure, you know, because Henry was
no good
in that time as well. But if Henry is at Chelsea, Jose gets fired from Chelsea first time round in 2008. So he's there wins it in 05, wins it in 06, doesn't win it in 07, goes very early in 08, and I think Ivorian Grant took over in 2008. And you got to a couple of finals, you got to Champions League final, you lost both of those finals, and you also came second in the league. And United then go and win 3 league titles in a row. And I'm wondering if Thierry, under whichever manager you brought in after that, I can't remember if it was Scolari or whoever you had before. You brought Ancelotti in 2010 and you won it.
That's right.
And you had that gap. You had Ivorian Grant, then you had Scolari must have been in there. Someone else must have been in there. I'm wondering in that time where you finished second, like we did in 99, 2000, 2001, whether Thierry could have maybe got you a title in that time frame, because possibly. The 07 08 United side really, really good, but 08 09 United side maybe it was up for grabs, or maybe the 06 07 United side that won it.
It's hard to say, bro. Like,
could Henry have won it? It's so tough.
It's tough. Didier Drogba, bro. When Mourinho leaves, right, you still have Didier Drogba, and he's still most of the time Chelsea's top scorer. He was still a big game player. It's not just saying, you know what, if you had Thierry Henry instead of Didier, you might have got across the line. We might not have. Didier Drogba was still one of the best strikers in the world for that period of time. He could have pretty much slotted into, well, most teams, I think. Pretty much every team. Didier Drogba was just a beast. So you can't just say, oh, you know what, Thierry Henry, if he was there, you guys might have won an additional title. I just can't buy that. Let me ask you this.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me ask you this, yeah. What happens, yeah, if you have Thierry Henry, Didier Drogba in the same team? Can they play together?
Bro.
And what could have they have?
And they played, bro. Yes, they can play together. You know, there's an interview with Henry, and they ask him as well, like, who would you have loved to play? He goes, Didier.
No way.
He would have loved to play with Didier Drogba.
Bro.
He has categorically stated, he stated it in front of Big Meeks and Kara and Kate Abdo on TNT.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got to that question, but basically he was like, he would have loved to have played with Didier Drogba. Why? Because Henry had the license. He'd drift out to the left. Don't forget, Henry wasn't just goals. He was he still holds the Premier League record joint with De Bruyne now, I think, for most assists in a season.
Crazy.
My man was 30 goals, 20 assists a season, most seasons for 7 seasons, which is why I say Henry's the best the Premier League's ever seen. In that period of time, no one's done it quite like him. But him drifting out to the left, Drogba up top, bro, they win everything. They win. Can they play together? Yes, they can, in my opinion, because Henry then becomes the guy that's drifting out to the left. He loves creating assists almost as much as he loves scoring goals.
Yeah.
The burden of scoring goals is now shared, and Didier's monstrosity inside and around the box, provided with assists from Henry's trickery. Oh my God, bro.
Would you have them?
That team. I agree with you. Sorry to cut you there. I agree with you on your previous point. It's so difficult to say, can Henry, would they have won anything if Drogba wasn't in the, if you swap Drogba? You're right, because that dynasty of that United team, where it was Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez, Rio, Vidic, Edwin van der Sar, Evra, bro, for me, it's one of the best, if not the best Premier League team I've ever seen in the Premier League, 07-08 team. So you're right. You had Drogba anyway and you didn't win it. So what's to say you would have won it on Henry? But put your hands together, merge the two, bro. That's a different question. Yes, for me, can they play together? Yes. Would they thrive? Yes. I think they win everything. Bro, I think they win everything. They would complement each other. And Henry thinks they would complement each other. I'm inclined to believe the big man.
If you had Thierry Henry and Didier Drogba, they played in the same team, would you have them two up top, or would you have like a 4-3-3 sort of system and you put Henry on the left and then up front you put Didier, obviously? Or would you put them together as two top strikers?
This day and age, I'd go the 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Because that's a system we typically play now. I think the 4-4-2, although it does get played still, it's a little bit, it's pretty much dead, right? But back then, I'd do the 4-4-2, and I'd have Henry just slightly ahead of where Bergkamp was in our 4-4-2, basically. So you'd have Drogba up top and Henry just slightly behind him.
Yeah.
And he'd also drift out to the left. Bro, back then, 4-4-2, would it have worked? 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
You can bet your ass on it. And would it work today? 4-3-3.
100.
Henry at left. He played at left for Barca, worked pretty well. Yeah, all day long. They both get into the team. I think you're starting to then create possibly one of the greatest teams the Premier League's ever seen if you have both of them in the same time. I genuinely believe that is the one matchup I would love to see more than any other matchup. Like any other matchup. I don't care about Gerrard, Lampard in the same team. I don't care about Ronaldo and Salah in the same team. I would have wanted to see, if you give me one dream matchup, Henry and Drogba in the same team.
How about
Cristiano
Ronaldo and Leo Messi in the same team? We're talking now about the two best, greatest players ever.
Yeah, look, if you go outside of the Premier League and we're just going, two greatest, then like, for me, I should have said Premier League matchups. Yeah, I would have gone Henry, Drogba, but yeah, of course, Ronaldo, Messi would be up there for sure.
Bro, that team, they would smash every team in history if you had those two players. Imagine them getting 50 goals each for like season on season. That would be the crazy. And the thing is, like, Ronaldo likes to play on the left and Messi likes to play on the right, so it's like perfect. So, but anyway, We're going off topic. Could you imagine though if you merged Didier Drogba and Thierry Henry into one player? Do you think that would be the most complete player in Premier League history?
You know how we talk about Gerrard being the most complete midfielder?
He is.
We've seen. He can run box to box. He can shoot, score goals from inside, outside the box. He's good in the air. He can tackle. He can track back. The guy is the most complete midfielder. I think we both agree on that, right?
I think ever. I haven't seen a more complete player than him. I can't think of a more complete player. He would have to be in my first 11 because like you can put Steven Gerrard as a defender, as a left back, a right back, any position, and he would probably be the best at it. He was just that good. I don't think he's like a jack of all trades. I think he's a master of all trades.
He is. He genuinely is. I know we joke about Gerrard, Lampard, whatever else, and Lampard had more goals, and I rate Lampard. But yeah, the most complete midfielder is Gerrard. If he's the most complete midfielder, you merge Thierry Henry and Didier Drogba, you've got the most complete striker. If you merge the two, I'd even have that merge above R9. The reason why I say that is R9 for me is the best number 9 I've ever seen.
100.
When you compare, all of Henry's skill set, and then you combine Drogba's beast mode in and around the box, and you include the goals that you're guaranteed in the biggest of biggest cup finals, guaranteed, which is what Drogba's done, there's nothing missing. They can both score headers. They can both score left foot, right foot. They can both. You compare the two, combine the two. You've got the best striker ever that goes above R9. Yeah. What do you think?
100% agree. 100% agree. That combination of both of them is scary. I mean, is there another player that you can think of that would represent a merge of Didier Drogba and Thierry Henry? Who would be the closest player, do you think, that would match that?
Prime Suarez, maybe? No, not even Suarez. There isn't one. Mark, there isn't one. And that is why the shocking conclusion that I'm coming to is I came into this saying, Henry over Drogba, prime Henry over prime Drogba. But actually, bro, not to sound too soppy, they complete each other. If you combine the two, they complete each other. They both have attributes the other is slightly missing, but they can both stand alone. Obviously, peak Drogba, peak Henry, insane. But actually, if you want to see the perfectly rounded striker that you have ever seen in your life, put your hands together and just combine the two. They need each other.
They need each other. I think they're pretty much good on their own. If they were together, it would just be unreal. Look, let's conclude this, right? You're gonna pick one or the other. Who was better in their prime? Was it the mighty Didier or the supreme Thierry Henry? Who's better? I want one word.
Outside of, I'll give you
same one name.
Henry.
Henry.
Outside of finals, Henry.
Henry. I'll still go Henry. Guys, it was a great video. We've covered a lot of different topics in this specific video. Who is better in their prime? Was it Didier? Was it Thierry? Please let us know in the comments down below. Give us your opinion. We're going to read and respond to every single one of your comments. And if there's any other topics you want us to cover, any other debates, let us know in the comments down below. If you want to see more of our content, click this video right here and we see you beautiful people in the next one. I hope you enjoyed that. Nice one, guys.
Peace.